There we go. Now we're all set up. What's up, everybody, with the Holistic Health and Fitness Group? I am joined today from one of our graduate clients. This is actually kind of a unique video. Normally, we talk to recently graduate clients. Like Max is an OG. He's been from years ago. So, Max, welcome. Say hi. Feel free to introduce yourself, where you're from, all the above.
Thank you, Madison. It's a real pleasure. Thanks for having me. I'm Max A. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada, and as Madison said, yeah, I'm one of the not originals, but I've graduated. It's been a few years, and I think what's exciting to share is sort of the people that maybe just starting or kind of knee deep in it. What does it look like? What does it look like in the 3 year, 4 year picture? How much
Yeah.
work do I got to do? Is it like dental floss twice a day? And so I'm here to tell you, fear not, because if you do the work uh, up front, it's almost ridiculous how little you have to do to maintain it. So
Cool. I'm looking forward to diving into this, Max. So, yeah, to start off, I think what would be useful is just explaining your kind of quick story of why you came to us in the first place. You were dealing with a few different things and tried a number of different things. So, feel free to fill people in, and then we can go from there.
yeah, the original route was recovering from a really traumatic high speed auto wreck. Um, Basically broke the back, tore a bunch of ligaments in my knee, rotator cuff, and wrist. So uh, it was just I was just grateful to be walking again. So I spent about a year in physical rehab, and of course, I probably tried many things that everyone else has tried too. The physical rehab, of course, which is only 12 weeks, so that's really doesn't get you very far. Chiropractor, massage therapy, yoga, and then the one I ended with was Egosco. If
Yeah.
anyone's come across Egosco,
It's another
um,
movement coaching kind of program for those that don't know what that is.
exactly, and that sort of got me uh, sort of on the path to Madison, health by ratio, because it was a similar philosophy of trying to really study how you move on the daily. Uh, but for what I was trying to do, and that was the other thing, I was trying to really push the envelope athletically. Couple things, I had a mountain bike hobby. I used to race, and then I still wanted to maintain that. And then I got called onto the American Ninja TV show, and I had to train for that. And that just took a real toll on the body. And because I still wasn't up to par with my movement patterns, I was in this couldn't get out of this chronic treadmill of recurrent injury. And that's where I came across Madison. And he closed the gap. He's got uh, this secret sauce, I think, to really the movement analysis and then addressing it on the three fronts that he talks about, and then just getting you to where if you do your homework, uh, you will get everything you can imagine and more. And then the beauty of it, because I know everyone struggles with the commitment, especially up front, um, establishing that habit, which is always difficult for any changes that you're doing. But then I'm almost, it's amazing to me as I sit here a couple of years later and realize like I don't do nearly enough. I almost feel guilty sometimes because I should be doing more. But the body's smart. It wants to stay aligned. It wants to stay healthy if you give it the resources. So you really don't need to do nearly as much as you think once you have it on track. So
Yeah, so kind of elaborating into that, you bridge the gap well. Is that so when you're actually in the thick of your program, obviously there's always a learning curve getting into anything, and there's always um, a challenge in getting into a new habit, even as simple as flossing twice a day. Like certain like things that should be relatively easy. If it's different for your routine, it can be tough. And we try to, for most people, say like, hey, if you can do 15 to 20 minutes a day, that will build up the foundation. Now, I would say for you, you spent more than 15 to 20 minutes a day when you were doing your program. And as I said to you before we got started, you're still to this day, out of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that we've worked with, you're one of like two or three that literally did your program every single day. Like almost everybody misses days here and there, or a week gets busy, or someone gets sick, or whatever. Like you were on top of it every day. So you were like an A+ student, I will say. And what's like you just mentioned, what's really cool is how that foundation can set you up for years to come. But like what I would be curious about from your perspective of all the stuff you learned, because we did a bunch of mobility work, restoring fascia lines to where they were supposed to, and restoring ranges of motion and symmetry to where it was supposed to. Then we did some kind of nitty gritty corrective exercise around postures and movement patterns. And then we started getting into, for you, because you were mountain biking, you wanted to get back into running, you had like, you wanted to push the body. We started getting into more like fast twitch, explosive movement. And like, we got really functional on the fitness side of the equation too. And
Yeah.
that was probably the biggest difference between what we did versus some of the other stuff that you had done, is that like we wanted to build it to the point where we could really push this body to the limit and see how it could handle its alignment. Now, from all those things, and maybe the answer is just all those things, but from your perspective, like what to you was maybe the biggest learning curve, or what was the most valuable thing that you felt like you learned? Like, I'm just curious from your perspective, thinking back to your program.
Yeah, excellent question. I would say there's three major points that stand out to me. One is your expression, death by a thousand cuts. That really sunk in because we're all trapped into it. Our just normal lives, our normal habits, the way we pick up something from the floor or empty the dishwasher, um, we're just the lack of self-awareness and the things that all of a sudden we throw out our back because you pick up that little pencil. Well, that had nothing to do with it. It was just all the other things before it, the poor movement patterns that add up over time, hundreds, if not thousands of repetitions per day that finally break you down, right? So that was really something that was a huge takeaway for me. And you helped me create this self-awareness that becomes just like muscle memory after a while. And you just know when you're getting lazy or being sloppy, and then you know how to get established, active standing, active sitting. You have your go-to on tap to get back on track
Awesome.
quickly so that you don't go back into that again. The other thing, you're never too old and it's never too late. So no matter, like you saw where I came from, I was a walled up wrecking ball of dysfunction. Um, and so that it's no matter where you're at, um, it's never too late, never too old if you're willing to put in the effort. Um, and the other thing is the body. The other thing, because the system has us externalize our health. We offload it to somebody else in a white jacket or some other authority. And
Yeah.
we're abdicating our own responsibility. But the thing is we know best, we should. And the body has this innate intelligence, which Madison is a master of helping us realize, kind of getting out of our own way, giving the body the resources, the input and the challenges in the right ratios and to reestablish that to what the body already knows, and the body can just kind of heals itself and rights itself. So those are my
Yeah,
biggest.
beautiful. Yeah, and like I couldn't said that better myself. Like you're the body has the inherent ability to heal from 99.9+% of stuff. We just need to be able to give it the right techniques, and we need to like if I cut my finger, I need to clean it. Like I can't just like let the dirt sit in the cut. Like I got to give it the right techniques. I got to give it the right environment. I got to bandage that cut up. I can't just let myself keep sticking that finger into dirt. And I got to give it the right nutrients. If I'm malnourished, I'm not going to let my body, it's not going to be able to recover. Like, so if you do those couple of things, like your body has the ability to heal. It's just a cut looks on the finger looks different than recovering from a broken back. Like but it's still a matter of like, do the right techniques to stabilize that back properly, give it the right nutrients so it can recover, and give it the right environment, like lower some, like be mindful of chronic inflammation and that kind of stuff, whether that's mental, emotional stuff, whether that's nutritional imbalances, whether that's actual environmental factors that are impacting us, whatever. But like if we can control chronic inflammation levels, then all of a sudden, like the body starts to heal and stabilize itself really good. And then you can just build on it and have fun on the fitness side of the equation. So that's a good segue to the last thing I really wanted to ask you, and kind of how this all sparked on us being like, hey, let's connect and let's I think some people would really like to hear what you've been up to. Is yeah, since you graduated a number of years ago, what have you been up to? What are some of the cool things you've been able to do? And yeah, what's that been looking like for your life?
Yeah, so I I was sort of I've gone from sort of a professional level athlete with that American Ninja Warrior stuff that you would help me train for and get my body bulletproof enough to handle all that training. And then of course some personal breakthroughs on the mountain bike without even really getting into the racing, but just you had me moving so much more efficiently and powerfully that I was just effortlessly breaking old time trial events that I had done previously on the trail and things. So it was just like, free speed. You took off the brakes basically because I was moving so cleanly. So I slowed down a bit. I'm kind of more of a desk jockey, learning IT and computers, but I still try to remain active, but more of a hobbyist and just for the hell of it, if you will. But I still enjoy the mountain bike, trail running, long distance running up to half marathon distance, weight training, and of course hiking. And just to so recently we do this. It's called the Get Off the Couch or Just Off the Couch Running Club because it's a running joke with five of my buddies that we get together once a year and go do the Las Vegas half marathon.
Mm.
And the idea is none of us are runners, so we don't run much. I mean, like literally, I've accumulated 6 runs in the last year. So you're like, how do you pull it off? Because I don't really, stay super cardiovascular fit. But again, because the uh, the patterning is there, the biomechanics are there, I can usually train up for one. And when I say train up, I usually do like 6 runs within 4 weeks of the event, and then I just go for it. And I'm always a little nervous because you feel super undertrained, and by all rights you are. But this program it's still something is still here working its magic because I can get away. I can run 13 miles. I'm sore for about 3 days, which to me is a pretty decent recovery considering
Muscle
my
sore though is, yeah,
training.
that's understandable. You should be
And
muscle
then,
sore.
but here's the real thing. I can do it. I can run it, and I'm not going for time, but 205 to 214. So it's okay. It's a
Yeah.
sub 10-minute mile average pace. Um, but more importantly, I'm not injuring myself. I'm not, I don't feel like I've hurt anything in my body, other than just that natural soreness, but
Yeah.
that goes away. And so those are some of the takeaways. I guess it's the confidence that if I want to do something, friends call, or I want to just go do something, maybe I want to go summit Mount Charleston because a group of friends are going. So I know that my body's capable. So I have that confidence and just living in a strong body that's capable. I mean, that's better than gold, I think.
Very cool. Well, Max, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for just the random message, the whatever weekend or two ago when you're like, "Hey, just wanted to give you a heads up. I finished my latest half marathon and didn't do much training and felt great around it." And that was super cool to hear. I love getting updates from you guys and you in particular, and so it was fun to hear that. And thank you very much for sharing your story. I think a lot of people I want everyone to understand the takeaway is not like go for 6 runs and run a half marathon just off the couch right now. The takeaway is like if you get your body moving the way that it should, if you can get your symmetry back, if you can get your range of motion to where it needs to be, if you can get your nervous system to learn how to move you properly and actually like use your muscle groups the way that it should, it allows you to do whatever the heck you want. And it's relatively easy to maintain. Just there's some grunt work for a few months to get there, but like once it's there, you can maintain it relatively easily. And so, Max, thank you very much for sharing.
My pleasure, Madison. We love you, man. I'm forever grateful to you and your team. and I love
Our
what you're
pleasure.
doing. I love what you're doing and you're sharing online. I'm still learning. I'm still following.
Truly, my pleasure. Like it's what gets us out of bed in the morning, and I mean that. All right, Max. Thank you, thank you. I'll look forward to hearing some updates when you hike your next mountain, or complete your next PR on mountain biking, or go for your next half marathon.
Right on, Madison. You take care.
See you, Max.